Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello! Welcome to Season 22, Episode 17 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm
Mike's
Tappy.
And I am Joey.
I'm Kimmy. I'm professional. We're doing well. We're doing well tonight.
It's been a week.
That's why I spoke slowly so I didn't screw up.
Yeah.
I just did it to make fun of Tappy.
In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, Hour 11 sends us a question about one-shots. Kurt illustrates how not to do space combat. And Terry from Idaho sends us a story about a conversion. But first, if you would like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We're also on the social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And is that it?
I think most of it.
Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Discord.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thing... Happy Jack's RPG, all one word. Mm-hmm. Even on Discord, maybe.
No, go to happyjacks.org/discord, and then there you get an invite.
There you go.
Ah.
Also, if you'd like to watch the show live, we would stream this show at 7 p.m.-ish
Now.
on at happyjacks.org/live every Friday night. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Canada.
The first, I was wondering about that. It's like, what, Canada doesn't like Fridays? That's only been a running gag for the last, 9 years?
Nice.
Well, I discovered how to look at, because when you're on iTunes
Yes,
thing,
this is fascinating.
you're only seeing your country's reviews and your country's content.
Yeah.
But at the bottom, there's a little,
Flag.
for us, there's a little round dot that is has the American flag in it. You click on that, and it lists all of the countries, and you can click on another country, and then you're seeing iTunes for that country.
Right.
And then you can look up your podcast and see what the reviews are in other places. Mm-hmm. We have some in Ireland and England, of course, and Australia, and can't read the ones in Germany. But
you can Google Translate them if you really...
yeah, that's
So
true.
it'll come out weird.
But there was some severe negative reviews about belching in the mics from Canada. So that's how that started.
They don't like belching.
Sorry, Canada should be on the soundboard. That's a good idea, Jeff Walk.
Well, also because you're apologizing to Canada because they're very polite.
Right.
Yeah.
They appreciate that.
They do.
All right. First email. A question about one-shots from Hour 11. Been a century since I wrote my job since I wrote last. My job is a bastard sometimes, but let's get to it. I'm a campaign guy.
Yep.
I run, and have always run, slow burn interpersonal campaigns, vast conspiracies, love triangles, big character arcs. I'm totally baffled at how to put together satisfying one-shots. How does anything that feels grand happen in such a short time? Without it feeling like Frodo found the ring in his cereal in his cereal at breakfast and chucked it in Mount Doom just before dinner that afternoon. Well, there are 4 meals in between there, aren't there?
Yeah.
Between dinner and
Well,
breakfast.
I mean, if you're a hobbit, there's a lot more than that,
Yeah.
probably.
Well, there's
Well,
there's
there's
6?
breakfast.
breakfast,
Second
breakfast.
11
11sies, lunch.
Brunch.
No.
Lunch.
Oh, brunch,
Yes.
lunch.
Dinner. Supper.
Right.
There you go.
So that's
There's a
Oh,
lot.
and no, we missed
7?
afternoon tea.
And
After-
after
There's no
yeah.
brunch.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There's no
There's
brunch?
there's no
There's
brunch.
no brunch.
No, that's 11sies. They haven't.
Oh, yeah,
before.
that's 11sies.
Although I think Sam had brunch as well as.
Absolutely.
11sies.
I mean, when are they going to have mimosas then? Those are necessary.
At 11:45, mimosas.
All right.
12:15,
Both
lunch
of you just get
begins.
this way more.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
gonna have to tell me twice.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Mount Doom just before dinner that afternoon. How do you get players connected to anything? And especially, how do you resolve a story in a way that doesn't feel like the prologue to a real story that picks up in the non-existent next session? In beginning a one-shot, should the story always be discovered already in progress, so it at least feels like the big evil problem didn't appear 15 minutes ago? whether it's discovered in progress by the characters who were previously unaware, or we start with the characters that have already been dealing with this problem. Should artificial time passage be planned into the game so there isn't a feeling that it all plays out in one frantic moment? What are the pitfalls here? How does a campaign experienced GM form a story suitable for a one-shot? I made a bunch of notes.
Okay.
But I'll let other people go first.
Go ahead.
I would say first thing, get thee to a connery. Go to a con. You're going to do nothing but run one shots at a con. And my first con, I'd never played in the one shot before. I'd only done campaigns. And the first game, I totally got the appeal of one shots. You don't have to make the story big and epic. You can make it big and epic just on a smaller scale. Make it about a day or so in the life of these characters. Make it about a small story that's very important to them. And also something I love about cons and one-shots is it doesn't matter if the character dies. Your players will go bigger because they have to worry about surviving to the next session.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what you're asking here isn't how do you run a one-shot, but how do you run Lord of the Rings as a one-shot?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is you don't.
No.
I mean, you could really try, but they're going to get really tired at hour 13. What a one-shot should be like is Reservoir Dogs. I think that is a perfect example of a one-shot campaign. Everybody comes together. They all have different names that aren't theirs. They get to know each other while they're doing the thing, and then repercussions of the thing happen.
Right.
And so it feels very visceral. It feels very real. It feels like the characters' choices have effect. And then when you're done telling the story, you're done. I mean, these characters, whoever isn't dead or jailed or whatever, moves on and, maybe is in a story later, maybe isn't. But you have that finality kind of at the end of it. And that is the kind of story that is good for a one-shot.
Well, and I mean, it can be something like that too, but there's moments in Lord of the Rings that would be great for a one-shot. You don't have the whole story of Frodo getting the ring. Frodo, the whole thing is a crazy big arc. But there's individual things that you could do, when the first time they encounter the Nazgul. It's that's really these 5 little hobbits who've never met anything crazy. Get away from that. Okay, cool.
You can start the story with an NPC has just been stabbed by them and is about to die.
Exactly.
And your story is you need to get from the creepy place where the Nazgul were to where the elves are so they can be saved.
Exactly. Weathertop and then on to Lothlorien. That's a really great small little story. It doesn't have, and that is very epic.
Yeah.
That's super exciting, especially for those characters that are basically from a farming village, and that's kind of their first big test of things that are terrifying.
Right.
And if that's all you look at, if you don't know that the rest of Lord of the Rings is there after that, it's a great one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you made it past the scary the scary ruins, and you're safe in Elf Town. Good job. Here's some presents and some lambus bread.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Or, you got stabbed.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You are now.
That's why I said think of it as make that an NPC.
Yeah.
Right.
In the notes I wrote, the first thing I put is keep the story simple. Don't try to make a big story. The last con, one of the 2 games I ran was a one-shot. A bunch of orcs are going to a small town to get a trade deal signed. They show up. The church is on fire. They go in. The church is on fire. They go in. They rescue. There's a bunch of kids locked inside because they went in. They were kept in there for safekeeping. So they get the kids out, and then they discover, this town's been attacked by some lord. For them, their storyline is come to the village, get the contract signed. These people have a problem. We're a bunch of orc warriors. We might be able to help with this problem because people have been coming in and stabbing them. So they go and they discover. There was a plot twist in it, but they basically are able to figure out where the bandits left, and they kind of go out and scout the area. They see the bandits there, but they're like, but we were looking for the grain they stole. The grain they stole obviously went that way because they were able to figure that part out. So they basically just completely didn't even get anywhere near where the bandits are camped. They went and followed the wagons, and there was a rendezvous between the the guy with the grain wagons and this mysterious figure. One of the things I like to put in an adventure, and I usually do this if I need to pad, if I'm gonna, like if they burn through something and I need extra time, just have some little twist at the end.
Yeah.
And so in this case, that little twist was the mysterious dark figure is actually a nun who's running an orphanage full of half-orcs. And that she had hired this guy to get grain for her, didn't know how he was getting the grain. So and that gave like a little thing for the party. Oh, now we have all these orc children we can escort back. But I mean, it's not a complicated story.
Right.
And the one I ran for the other one I ran, which was the Apollo 11 mission, is being sabotaged.
Martinis and Coke.
Right. Yeah. and that whole thing was uncover how the Russians are going to try to sabotage Apollo 11 and stop them. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
And here's a good point for you. There's a time limit. The rocket's already launched.
Yeah.
It's only going to take 2 days or 3 days for it to get to the moon. So you've got a short window. They're on a timeline. And that's another good thing to keep the pace of the game moving, is give them a window. You've got to get this done by this time, because if you don't, it's too late.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things I think that you keep your story relatively simple. Most players who've played at cons before, con games tend to be a little more railroady than regular games.
Yeah.
Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
The players know it as well, and it's very rare to because my next bullet point was keep things on track.
Yeah.
I like your railroad tracks, right? It doesn't have to be that strict, but you want to make sure they're going towards the progress, because most, depending on what kind of game you're playing, most of the players are there and sitting down because they want to see what you've prepared.
Right. And also, I think in con games especially, like if they see a story hook, or what they think is a story hook, they will latch onto it like a fucking bulldog.
Right.
Right, so that the story can continue and they can see what's up.
Exactly.
And that isn't normally always true, especially with groups that are used to very long, slow burn campaigns.
Yes.
Right.
They're kind of feeling it out.
Right, but if you're at a con, most people, and there's a 4-hour session, most people are expecting a 4-hour game.
Yeah.
Or less. Running over, you got to check with your players.
Yeah.
See if they're cool with running over, because usually you're going into people's meal times at that point.
And there's usually like 1 hour between one game and the next game.
Right.
So that can get
Or maybe a
problematic
couple hours for dinner.
at most.
But,
Yeah.
The other notes I put down were about characters, because he talks about having the players relate to the characters and relate to things like that. A couple things I've done. I will often make pre-gens. The pre-gen characters, I will lay all of them out, and I will write down little bullet points about what this character thinks about these two characters, and what this character thinks about these two characters. Or
Right.
this person used to be married to this person, or these two people used to work together, but they don't really like each other very much anymore, or whatever those relationships are, and hand those to the players as kind of role-playing cues.
Yes.
The other way to do it, which is what in Moment of Truth, I have that little 6x6 chart, and it just has a very vague event.
Right.
So you roll 2 dice, you look at the column and the row, and you get an exciting event. Okay, me and this character shared an exciting event. What was that? Take 5 minutes to figure out what that was.
Yeah.
And do that. Make kind of connections between the players, so that they themselves have come up with it themselves, because that also makes them more invested in it.
Yeah. That is like the number one thing that I think is successful about a lot of my one-shots is taking that time, investing that time up front, so there's more buy-in with the players. Like, if you're just throwing them together, and like, here's my story, and you don't let them form bonds and connections with each other, it's going to be a much flatter story, and they're not going, there's times where you as a GM want them to interact, and you kind of sit back and like watch the role-playing happen. If you don't get, give them that time up front to make those connections, there's going to be a lot less of that in the game, and you're going to be put on the spot to do a lot more talking, a lot more work as NPCs to make the roleplay happen,
Yep.
which isn't always great.
And that's one of the things that was really, having characters, figuring out interconnection between characters has always been a part of role-playing games, but when it's like specifically in the rules that you do this and how was another one of the innovations of Apocalypse World, where if you play the Skinner, which is like the apocalypse stripper, you can say to one person, your character's in love with me, because that's part of the connections. That's our connections, that you're in love with me. And that is true. And then you can go about that however you want, but that really establishes those connections. So that's a really great resource to look at in order to do this for one-shots.
In a quick way, rather than playing a long campaign and having those actual connections be an actual part of the game, which also is fantastic. You don't have that. You can't do that in 4 hours.
Right. And you don't have to be playing a PBTA game to use those.
Oh, absolutely not.
When we started our Desert of Despair D&D game that Jason ran, he actually pulled the connections from the PBTA Star Wars, I forget the name of it, and we used that while we're doing character creation. And we've had a bunch of people be like, that was really a great way to kick things off because it added so much before we even started.
Context.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the great resources for that is Monster of the Week.
Yes.
How they put because it's
so good.
Very bland kind of questions that could be for anybody. It's like, who has betrayed you?
Yeah.
Who don't you trust?
Yeah.
You know?
It really works with any kind of adventuring party.
Yeah. Super good.
The only other advice I would say, and going back to my first con, when I played Mission Imbartable, what I think worked really well was think of the one-shot as an episode of a TV show. Everything has to be wrapped up in a half hour. So you have your story beats come pretty quick. Again, you have that timetable, like Stu said, and just keep everything as concise as possible.
Yeah. One of the other things I noted down here is, and this has to do with getting the players invested in the characters, because for me, if you hand me a pre-gen, I might get through that whole session before I've really wrapped my head around that character. If I've made the character myself, I have a much better chance of wrapping my head around the concept of that character, especially if it wasn't, like, a Traveler character can still be hard.
Yeah.
If you're making a Traveler character, it's a random character. Okay, I know this, but it takes me a while to do that. But like when we played the Demigods game, I knew right away who that guy was. I'm like, I'm going to make this guy.
Right.
And I think if you can give the players now if you have trouble running a game within 4 hours, running a one shot within 4 hours, you may not want to do character creation right up front.
Yeah.
However, if you give the players partially created characters, one of our listeners did this at a con years ago in Savage Worlds. He made their Savage Worlds characters, but he left off their edges and their drawbacks.
Nice.
Is it drawbacks they call it? So, and a drawback, that's your character, right?
Yeah.
That's your personality. So the players had lists of major and minor. You have a spider thing?
No.
Okay, good. It's
I
gone.
do, so thank you.
It's gone.
I'm a huge liar.
It's
No,
gone.
Kimmy, it's called
I totally
real life
killed it.
role playing.
Right.
You can smell the gook on my hand. But he that.
What are you into?
No, it was the spider. If you want to make sure it's dead.
Fine. No, it's fine.
All right. I did smish it.
Yeah.
But because that way, I mean, they're not making the character completely from scratch, but knowing what their disads are, that really determines the personality of the character and what they're good at with the edges. So he gave them a list. Here's what you can afford. Here's a minor or major edge you can take, and it gave them a short list that they could go through and pick and customize their character. The other thing I've started doing, I leave the names off.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
name your character.
Yeah.
That way, I don't have to think of frickin' PC names, and that gives them one more thing that they can do that, I don't know how much investment that has, but it's going to have some. They can come up with their own name. So.
I do that when I run Wild Talents at cons now. Like, I've done, all the math is done, but then they can pick whatever they want. They can pick whatever gender they want. Like, all of that, they get to pick. And it takes, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
I don't
at the
put
beginning.
genders on characters anymore
Yeah,
either.
absolutely. They can pick whatever they want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah.
It's easy. I mean, the less work I have to do on the PCs, the better, the way I see it. But, I mean, if you can get away with doing character gen in the game, I ran a Traveler game where everyone did, I think they had limited them to
That's part of Traveler.
I know, that's the whole game.
No, it isn't. There is actually a whole really good game beyond that, but it is perhaps one of the funnest parts.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so
I've
fun.
only done character creation.
But I think I limited them to 2 terms or 3 terms or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had multiple copies of the book, and then I had the PDF, and I printed out the character creation section. And like, okay, you want to make an agent? Here's a copy of the agent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I was basically just walking around the table answering questions and helping them make their characters. It took maybe an hour, and all 5 or 6 people had all their characters done. They all know who their characters are, and it was
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
I want to run Traveler again.
I want to play Traveler at some point.
We're talking
So
about
good.
redoing the, what was it called? What was the name of that game?
I don't remember, but it was a Traveler game.
The Ashes of Exodus.
Yes, that's what it is.
Which was a Tech Level 10 game I was running.
Super fun.
Yeah, I'm thinking of
Oh my god, I was so
revisit-
dumb in that game. So dumb. It was so glorious.
She made a debutante.
Yes.
oh, nice.
She was super cool, and she loved everything. And oh my gosh, are you here to like shoot us? And wait, no, that's my ship. Do you have a mimosa?
Oh
my god.
My
was
brand is feeling personally attacked.
the least suited character in the world to be in a gun
To
fight.
anything. To
That's awesome.
least suited character in the world. Period. To
That's
just
Except
play
for parties.
anything. Except parties. I was
Yeah.
very good at parties and shopping. Oh my god.
I'm really considering revisiting the world of my infamous Traveler game. with Bill and everybody.
yeah.
That is going to be like 1,000 years in the future when it's actually like ships,
Right.
like spaceships, instead of the weird airship thing that I did.
Right. Cool.
But that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I am in favor of this plan.
Yep.
Well, hour 11, I hope we answered your question. If
Seems like it.
I think we did. I think we did.
And speaking of Hour 11, I just started playing the 11th Hour again, which is the sequel to The Seventh Guest, if you remember that computer game.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
Like-
so bad.
And it's
Seventh
totally...
Guest was so good.
It was
and then
good.
that- yeah.
And then 11th Hour is just shit.
yeah.
Did you know all the old Infocom games are now available on
I
iPad?
know.
Really?
And they
Yeah.
unlock as you finish them.
So you have to beat Zork first before
Yes.
you can get to Zork 2 and
Yeah.
Zork 3.
But they give you all the extras. See, because when I played all these games back in the, God, when did those come out? In the early 80s?
Yeah. I played them in like
I played
the
them-
late 80s.
I
Because
played
in
them
the
on the
early 80s I was like
Commodore
4.
64. I mean, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
They had
But-
computer games in the 80s?
Yes, they did. Not only that, we had bulletin boards and we pirated them and put them on floppy disks.
Yeah. on the big like 5 1/4, not like
Five and
the
a qu-
3
yeah.
1/2
Yeah.
that were like
Oh, yeah, 5
super
1/4.
huge.
And he had a special hole punch thing you'd use so you
Oh,
could
yeah.
turn them into a
Yeah.
double-sided disc. Because all the discs were made double-sided, but they would not leave a notch in and charge less for a one-sided one and more for the double-sided one.
Yeah, so you had to buy-
You just made this hole punch thing and put a little nick in it, and then you could flip it over and put stuff on both sides. But yeah, I had a few of those, and of course you have none of the stuff that comes with it, and it comes with all kinds of stuff.
Oh
if
yeah,
you
like
bought
a
'em.
map and shit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
And
no, we
like,
didn't have any of that.
Oh
we,
my
like,
god,
writing everything down and like had these huge maps of like paper that were taped together.
If I'd had it's like, you mean if I bought the game, it would have come with the map? I would have solved the thing in an hour.
Well, you know, those Infocom games are actually how I got introduced to role playing.
Oh, really?
Because after my brother and I finished Zork 1, 2, and 3, we're like, we want to play more. Oh, coding this is bullshit. We
Oh, yeah.
don't want to write a game. So instead, we'd write down rooms and attach them all in this dungeon, and like had these little puzzles and stuff. And then the other person, as themselves, we didn't have like the concept of characters, whatever.
Right.
As themselves, would run through, and so we'd create these dungeons for each other with like goblins and shit in them.
That
and
is
you
so
find a sword.
funny.
Yeah.
That is so close to D&D.
I know. And then I realized that people have been doing that for like 20 years. I'm like, oh!
Anyway, all right. I'm triggering people's early computing nightmares. Yeah. Oh yeah, when 3.5 discs came out, that was sweet.
Yeah.
You know, I
You
used
can
to-
put so much on them.
Oh yeah, I used to work at McDonnell Douglas, and they had a computer graphics department where we would do for like slide presentations and stuff. They had the big discs.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
think 12-inch, I think.
Something like
they're,
that.
They're floppy disks. They look just like the 5 1/4 floppy disks, but they're like this big. They're huge, and they held less information than the 5 1/4 disks because they were older.
I feel like we're telling Joey about, they had these punch cards and just put through, and so the difference engine would read these.
Tell me more, Alan Turing.
Right. My dad used to bring home punch cards from the computer department at Cal State Long Beach, because he worked at Cal State Long Beach for forever. And when I was a kid in the 70s, he used to bring home stacks of them because they'd use them, and once they were done with them, they'd throw them out. So he grabbed a bunch and says, "Here, look at these. They're some kind of computer thing." And they got little holes in them, and it was amazing.
You got like a third of a checkers program.
Don't drop your punch cards because then they're out of order. That's right. Wow, Jeff said he used punch cards in college.
Whoa!
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jeff's older than I am.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's definitely older than Joey.
Yes.
That's not really a
Yeah,
line.
that sounds like a safe bet there, Tap.
Yeah.
I don't know why I called you Tap. That was weird.
Whatevs.
All right.
Tap.
Next, how to not do space combat from Kurt in Fresno. This is Kurt.
1 to 3
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Pretty pots.
I'll read it if
Oh,
you don't
no,
read it.
okay.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No, Joey can read it.
I'll read it.
Go.
It's fine. Greetings, Jackers. Kurt from Fresno here. First off, thanks for reading my email on game design and Burnout.
You suck.
You suck!
Yes.
He was on. If you watched the con show, he was there.
Yeah.
Best game I played at con. So much fun. I think Stork really nailed it with his movie industry analogy about seeing the wires and always just drop it as a and always just stop. Oh my god, I cannot read today. I think Stork really nailed it with his movie industry analogy about seeing the wires and always just stop it as a valid answer to Burnout. Since writing that email, I can actually had one of my most rewarding gaming experiences since 10 Candles in a game called Dialect. I highly recommend it.
I'm going to look that up. Go ahead.
Me too. Now on to the reason for writing in. With all the interest in space combat lately, I thought my attempt at sprucing it up would be useful as a cautionary tale.
Sorry, Ken.
You see, I too was disappointed with space combat in games. Off developing into role after role, devoid of any tension, until PCs ultimately emerged victorious. This foregone conclusion left me with feeling of every infomercial protagonist as they attempt to open a carton of milk. There's got to be a better way, I exclaimed as I poured through the book. Enter X-Wing Miniatures. Say, champ, are you sick of your starship encounters falling flat? The disembodied voice asked in a nod of agreement. Have you tried a tactical miniatures combat game? Smash cut to a fast-paced game of X-Wing with music and interesting camera angles. That's it, our protagonist shouts, picturing white-knuckled players weighing the new options provided by such a robust system. Locked away in their office, our protagonist blends an X-Wing ship combat into their Star Wars Traveler one-shot, complete with custom X-Wing pilot cards for each player, which incorporate their Traveler character strengths. A game of X-Wing is scheduled prior to the game to make sure everyone has an understanding of the mechanics. Conditions are perfect. Game day. The moment of truth.
Trademarks too better.
Things started out as you'd expect. Character intros, scenes on the station. Then they get their orders, an escort mission. They rush to their TIE fighters, ready to take on...
TIE fighters?
I know.
I think we're playing the...
Are we the baddies?
Well, we have schools on. We have schools on our uniform.
They rush to their TIE fighters, ready to take on this new mission. We place the minis on the table in the formation dictated by their captain. A brief conversation with the hut they are escorting is cut short by the sound of X-Wings approaching fast. What do you do? We all set our maneuver dials, the players offer. Right. Set your maneuver dial. Now they are bearing down on your escort targets. Their life is in your hands. Looks like we go based on pilot score. I need a 2, right? That's a curved movement template? Oh, here it is. The little ship is moved from one end of the template to the other. I can't hit anything from here. I guess I'll focus. I need a little eye token. Can you hand me an eye token? That's me. Does your character say anything? Oh, right. Captain, I'm gonna bank right and see if we can flank him. Okay, end of turn. Our protagonist slumps back in his chair, defeat in his heart.
Dun dun dun.
Lesson learned. The problem with space combat is not the mechanics. We did end up playing a fun game of X-Wing, but the pace of the game was so slow that there was almost no way to hold on to tension or get into any meaningful RP. As Steve pointed out, space combats shouldn't be even combats. At best, they are an obstacle to some other goal. Treat them as a challenge to be overcome, and be clear about what's at stake. Constantly reminding players what will happen if they fail, and follow up on successes and failures by escalating the tension. Like the cast says, you better know what happens if they fail and be ready to follow up on it. If the engineer wants to divert power to weapons or thrusters, that power is coming from somewhere. Tell them the stakes before they roll, and make sure the result of that choice ripples to other characters. If the stakes are the other characters' lives, have good reason why an enemy would want them dead, and prepare for the chance that is how the game ends. As far as Spotlight goes, I probably won't try to make sure everyone is involved in the future unless they jump in with an idea. When the face character wants to talk their way around some guards, you don't look to the fighter and ask how they're contributing. They'll contribute anyway.
True
usually
that.
with a sword.
Right.
If the fighter wants to be in that scene, they'll tell you.
Yep.
With a sword. Those are my 2 cents.
That is wise.
Exciting ship combat has always been my white whale. Kurt. At Kurt Potts in your Google machines. P.S. Thanks for plugging Pixel Scandal.
Yay.
Happy Jacks has been a big influence in how I think about gaming and podcasts in general. P.P.S. Drink.
Huzzah.
Drink.
Excellent.
Plancha.
Slasha.
You know, I was thinking when I read this, actually, a good template for space combat that's in Star Wars would actually be in Episode 4, where they don't do all the crazy piloty stuff, where it's like, okay, you're going, oh, there's a TIE fighter on your tail. Get him off. Oh,
Right.
you don't, you die. Next one.
Right.
And it's all very, very quick. There isn't like the super maneuvery, okay, I have this template so I get around. They're not trying to make it like a flight simulator.
Right.
Because they couldn't back then with special effects. But I think that'd be an interesting way to do like an X-Wing or TIE Fighter type thing. Is make a roll. Okay, you're on his tail.
Yeah.
You just have
If he doesn't shake you, he dies.
right.
My only criticism of that is because you're playing a game with space combat, you probably are having a character who wants to be a pilot and wants to shoot things out of the sky. I feel like that's kind of robbing them of their whole point of their character. If you have that character in your party,
Yeah.
If you have a character full of mercenaries who are ground mercenaries and diplomats, then yeah, kind of hand wave, space combat. But if you have a character who is a pilot by trade.
Well, but that character is still making rolls and doing piloty things and contributing in a large way. It's just not one where it slows it down to the point where
It becomes
what's
a tactical,
happening. Yeah, it becomes like a tactical game.
Well, yeah, I think in this example, using X-Wing as an example, which when I first heard that on the podcast a couple weeks ago, I was like, it's a bad idea. I played X-Wing. It's a lot of fun, but it takes forever.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think that's the way to go. Especially if you go with a game that has space combat mechanics involved, and Fantasy Flight Star Wars is a great example. They have a really involved space fight mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
But if you have a character, if you have a player who's built a character based on that
Right.
information, you kind of have to go with it.
Yeah, I
And
tend
me as a like professional face character,
right.
more or less by
What?
trade. I know.
No.
I have no problem being like, well, I got like 2 greens and a yellow, maybe in gunnery.
Right.
I can go man a cannon and try to shoot something, but no, that's not my forte. To get backseat to that scene, it's their scene. Let
Sure.
them do their thing.
Exactly.
Well, it's basically Leia on the Millennium Falcon.
Exactly.
There's like, ha! Get back here! That's what you do.
Yeah,
And the rest
exactly.
of it is like hanging out with
Yeah.
Chewie.
And as a person who's not going to be great at space combat, I am aware that's going to be my role in this combat.
Sure.
And you kind of have to just kind of grin and bear it, because there's going to be a time where you are giving a big speech or you are dealing with negotiations where that pilot's going to have to sit there and grit and bear it while you're going through your scene. So it's just, I don't know, for me it's kind of give and take.
Right.
But if all of the characters are pilots, which it kind of feels like in this one,
Yeah, they all jumped into their TIE fighters.
Right.
and I still think you can make meaningful choices without making it a simulator. Because again, like, the more you try and make a role-playing game a simulator, the more it slows it down for no real reason. And so just coming up with shortcuts when things can really get bogged down, I don't think is robbing anyone of what their character does, because the result of it is still there. And I think that's what's important about space combat is he wants the result of who dies, who lives,
Right.
like did your escort mission succeed, did it fail? These things are all story elements that need to be resolved.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Space combat should exist for a reason. You shouldn't random encounter a space combat.
Right.
Right.
Especially if
Or-
it's an involved
Or combat.
Right.
or any.
Oh, I agree. I have a Game of Thrones game I'm playing that we tried doing in 5.0 for some god awful reason.
What?
Briefly.
Okay.
But
You know, there's
the
a
Game
game,
of Thrones
there's a game called Song of Ice and Fire.
It's terrible. We started in that.
No.
It's a
Oh,
terrible
yeah.
system.
That's-
Oh, see,
So-
Bill played it. He
I
liked it.
disagree. I think it's especially with being a face character.
No. I love the social mechanics of the game. Part of the problem is the way all the tables are set up. You are going to roll just based on the way dice roll. 9 times out of 10, you're going to roll just a mediocre thing. If nothing really ever happens, good or bad, you're going to fail more times on the bad. And the way we found skills working is you either suck at something or are always going to succeed at something. There was no real middle ground. So we,
really?
we tried doing it in 5.0 for like a hot minute because that was the system we were all comfortable with, and that lasted for a hot minute because
Right.
it did not work. Now we're doing it in the Genesis system, which works a lot better.
Oh, okay.
But I had a point. Oh, the GM tried to throw random encounters at us in a Game of Thrones game, and he rolled on a random encountering table, and we were sailing through the narrow sea, and he rolled Kraken.
Oh.
Yep. And
Like-
then we all make new
It's
characters.
like, cool. you realize that we're like level nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like Kraken. You seriously Kraken?
Was there
right.
the option to run away?
We managed to like scare it off,
Okay.
which I think like he realized I fucked up. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to kill the whole party.
it's like
Oops.
Yeah.
I am a knight. Like I can do stuff in armor and on a horse.
Right.
I don't have either of those things on a boat.
Nope.
Oh man.
No. Yeah, armor and water don't mix.
Nah.
I really don't mind that idea of just running and the Kraken's coming after you and oh shit,
Right.
oh shit.
And that could be a fun skill challenge.
Oh.
But that's not how it happened.
Or you're like, we got to get away from this thing. We can't get away. It's faster than we are. Beach the ship.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now what are we going to do? Our,
Now it's exciting.
our keel is dug into the sand,
Oh my god.
and we have to get where we're going. I mean, that could be an awesome
That's-
Oh
complication.
no!
Yeah.
I love
Great
that as a
story.
possible story like movement thing, but as a random encounter,
That is bad.
I was like,
That's not good.
no,
Especially if you decide to do that because you have this whole like Gilligan's Island bullshit you want to
Right.
do, which is also kind of cool.
oh my god, Westeros Gilligan's Island.
And you're like, oh no, I'm the professor, aren't I? Yeah. Shit.
Oh, that would be so funny.
That'd be amazing.
Please make that as a one
Someone
shot,
is-
and let it. I will be in that in a heartbeat.
I can't tell anybody it's that though.
No.
No, sorry, sidetracked with random encounter bullshit, but yeah.
Well, and
Someone needs to make Gilligan's Island the role-playing game.
okay.
PBTA, each of the playbooks of the different characters.
Yeah.
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 You're, yeah, I think going back to that system just for a hot second, even though it has nothing to do with this.
Right.
The intrigue mechanics of the Song and Ice and Fire game are super good.
No,
If
they're
you have
fantastic.
Because it's actually like you're not rolling persuasion to convince somebody of something. You're making them like you.
Right.
Or you're making them not like you,
Right.
if that's what you want either. But that is the way people persuade people a lot of
It's
the time.
almost like a social combat, which is the way it should feel, especially in Song of Ice and Fire.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is, I am rolling this to get a hit on you. It's like you're dueling. Like, I'm rolling persuasion or seduction to get a hit on you. They're going to defend with a certain skill because you're using seduction. And then if you beat them, great, you get one hit. 3 hits mean you win that interaction, and they
Right.
will basically do what you want.
Right.
It's fantastic. I just wish the rest of the system was just as good.
Well, you can just import that into.
That's
the
what
other
we're
Right.
trying.
Yeah.
We're it's been an arduous
You can
process.
do that in ship combat. No, you don't do that in ship
No.
combat.
As a negative Ghost Rider.
Oh, we skipped the who played what.
Oh yeah. I played stuff. I
What'd
think.
you play?
Wait, okay. This is okay. I played.
We
in
had One
GX
Shot
on
Saturday.
Wednesday. Yeah, One Shot Saturday was last week. I ran a Demigods game in the 1920s, which in
Prohibition era America.
yes,
So good.
So it was really fun. And I think I made my most favorite NPC I've ever played as a GM.
Who's
So
that?
her name was Dorothy, and she was a 20s flapper, and she talked like this the whole time.
I live.
And I almost derailed my own game playing an NPC, but it was so
Right.
fun.
That's okay.
It's all good. It was very entertaining, and everyone had a really fucking great time. It was really, 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 really fun. And it was the first time someone's run Demigods in a not like kind of modern setting. Like we've done like 80s and modern times.
Right.
But we wanted to test it and see if it works, and it totally works. It was really super fun.
And Prohibition happened because
Oh yeah,
there was
because
a war between.
yeah, some gods, and Bacchus
Bacchus.
was like, you have to get rid of this prohibition bullshit. Like, fix this problem. So it was very fun. I'm not going to tell you too much because it's spoilery, but go check it out because I'm very proud of that game. Speaking of one-shots that are cool. And then Wednesday, I played GeneX, which is our Cortex game. And it was amazing. It was a really great session.
I can't wait to listen to it.
Yes.
I didn't even watch it live.
Yeah,
I cannot wait.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say anything because I went drinking with Jason last night in Abria, and we accidentally spoiled it for him, and he was super pissed. He was so mad.
I'd be pissed too. It's a good game.
It's a really,
It's
good,
really
game.
good game.
And it's my first time doing like romance, like actually in a game. So it's very interesting for me. It's a very interesting experience. So that's pretty interesting. And I hope it doesn't suck. So, yay!
Let's see. I don't think the last time I was on
You
was
played
before
on-
we did
yeah.
the Vault 818 game.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
We just did
That's
our-
an Apocalypse World.
yeah, it's an
Yes.
Apocalypse World.
It's the weirdest game ever. It's amazing.
Oh my god, it's so much fun. Yeah. I'm.
Samantha has a cult again.
Of course,
Stop.
you
Yeah.
Hashtag on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you played One Shot Saturday, too.
Yeah, I did. I played in Jim's game, that where I was the Maltese Falcon.
Oh, that was the Savage
Yeah.
World's Solomon
Solomon
Kane.
Kane.
Right. Yeah. He was a Knight of Malta who used the Falcon.
Oh my god.
So he was the Maltese
Stop
Falcon.
it. Get out. Just go.
And that was a lot of fun. The ending was so epic as to be ridiculous, and really had like a bunch of things in the Savage World system like kind of fall into line to have something be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But again, it's super spoilery, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it, but you
Right.
should totally check it out
Check it
because
out.
it's fun.
Yeah. If you haven't done it already, we have a new feed actually for our one shots and our shadow.
We should mention that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so if you go to happyjacks.org on the right-hand side, they're all our feeds. So we now have a feed for this show, which is our advice show. We have a feed for our actual play campaigns, and now we have a feed for our actual play one-shots and mini campaigns.
Which would be a good resource, Hour 11.
Go.
Good point.
I know. Sometimes I'm smart and have good ideas.
Good job.
Yeah.
What have I played recently? Last time I was on, I was in Good Society for ShadowCon, which was amazing. It is the most fun I've had in a long time. It's ridiculous. It's just Jane Austen, glances and flirting, and the letter writing mechanic is genius.
Yeah, I really like that part.
It's a fantastic system. I cannot wait for the full system to come out. And I actually played a decent human being. I know.
What a stretch.
Like, don't get me wrong, he was still real cute. But yeah, he was nice. He was friendly. He was likable.
Yeah.
It was a nice change.
Wow.
Crazy.
I know. And
I wish that was on a stream so I could see it and verify that this actually happened.
well, you can listen to it on the One Shot ShadowCon
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
And then I actually ran my first session of my Masks game.
Yay!
I actually did it. I bit the bullet, and it went really well.
Nice.
It went really well. I
Is
need
that
to
your first time GMing?
in a long time.
All right.
Like over 10 years. Long time. And first time doing something that's not D&D. But it went well. They latched onto the RP, which I wasn't sure they were going to, because they're D&D people, so they're used to, RP, but RP with combat. And then we got to combat. That's just rules I have to review for myself, is just going over the combat rules for Masks a bit more. But,
In D&D, RP is the stuff that Bard does between combats.
Look who you're talking to.
Is that
I
what
did not say that. Cappy did not say that. I just want to make this perfectly clear.
How dare you?
Is that when they talk to the experience points?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Stop stabbing my RP.
No, you're talking about when you're not playing the board game.
Oh, no.
Okay, no.
Why you gotta hurt me like that, Tappy? Why would you hurt me this way, Harry? Yeah.
I ran Bloodblade and Tusk on Sunday.
Yeah.
It was a fun game. It's not up yet. It'll be up next week sometime.
Yes.
Some stuff happened. It was good. I got to try out the.
Way to overstate it there.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything.
No, I got it.
I will spoil it a little bit by saying I got to try out my possession mechanics a little bit because there's like fallen angels, and that was interesting. And they resolved it the way you would the way you would assume PCs would resolve any problem.
They lit on fire and or killed it.
I'm shocked. How did you pick that? No, they lit it on fire. Fire is
Fire.
the ultimate,
Cleansing fire.
Yeah.
It's the universal solvent for PCs.
I thought that was removing the head.
If they can make the roll, but you almost never have to make a roll when you're lighting something on fire.
Right. It's an easier roll.
True. That is true.
That's AoE damage.
That's how players like Stork kill things without having to roll dice. Because he's cursed.
That's fair. That's fair.
RP your way into kills. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's all I
That
did.
reminds me of a character I had a long time ago playing fucking Heroes Unlimited. I had a character who could teleport small objects to and from like people's pockets and stuff. So I pull a pin on a hand grenade and teleport into somebody's pocket.
The pin.
No.
See, that's so much better than my story. Literally, my first time sitting down to playing D&D, I almost had a character death because I decided to cast Burning Hands in a thatched roof cottage. And
You're a Trogdor!
Oh, yeah. Everyone else made their saving throws except me. I was one saving throw away from dying my first time sitting down at a table.
That's awesome.
So then that group, as long as I played them, if I played a mage, I had to have Burning Hands as one of my spells. It was required.
And a special die you rolled with.
Oh, yeah.
For your saves.
Oh, you better believe it.
And then a ring of fire resistance.
Oh, there's no fun in that.
All right. And then the games coming up, we got Elfi Bar on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we have one-shots. We have ShadowCon.
ShadowCon tomorrow.
What's on Monday?
Monday, there is no game on Monday. We're Dark Monday.
Okay.
Because of some scheduling conflicts.
We're
And
dark.
then next Wednesday, we're having Gene X again.
Gene X.
Because
Yay.
Vault 818 swapped. So we'll have 2 Gene X's in a row, and then we'll have 2 Vaults in a row.
Got it.
Sweet.
So check out happyjacks.org/schedule to see all the things. It's all updated. And if you see a mistake, tell me. It shouldn't be a mistake.
Who wrote this?
And in Vault 818, I'm actually trying to do a stoic character.
Yeah.
Good luck
Way
with
out
that.
of my wheelhouse. It's like, how would Stu do this? Is basically like how I play my character.
Remember
I've
when-
already failed that.
Remember when I
but-
ran the Savage Worlds fantasy game and you played a character who was mute for about 10 minutes?
Yeah, I was like, fuck this. This is the worst
I
thing
take a different drawback.
No, you can't.
Holy shit! That's the Star Wars
Yeah.
game. That box.
Yeah. We
Yeah?
had the first
This
session.
box right here.
Yeah.
It's a Borg cube, and it's got like it's like
Oh,
a
wow.
Star Trek
bookshelf
game, yeah.
with drawers and all kinds
Oh,
of
yeah.
stuff.
It's a
I heard Star Wars. I was
$500
very
no.
confused.
Yeah, I
it's
assume
a-
I see Star Trek.
it's a $500 box, and if you want to see it in action, you should check out Second Star, which is on Monday. What was the first actual session of it was this last Monday, and it's
So good.
really
It's
amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
And I
So
understand
good.
things now. I'm watching Star Trek for the first time, so I'm getting references and things and
Excellent.
understanding races, and it's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah, that game inspired me to start rewatching The Next Generation.
See, I'm starting in the original series.
That's
Yes.
exciting.
I'm a completionist.
You want to watch the whole thing,
I'm gonna try.
including
where
the
you're
pilot
like-
with Captain Pike?
I'm going to go back to the pilot after I get to the episode where they.
Will they meet him again?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan.
That's the yelling Spock.
Yeah, I have a Star Trek Sherpa who is
Yeah.
kind of guiding me through.
Yes, you
Has-
do.
Has he
Yep.
explained why Kirk has the V-neck, but everybody else has the like high neck?
Not yet, but
'Cause I don't know
I've
why
asked
either.
him. He's the only one who wears that particular shirt, and it's not always. I'm very intrigued.
You will laugh when you see Spock in the pilot
I'm very excited.
because he yells all of the time. Yes, Captain. It's awesome.
Can't wait.
All right. Last email: a response and a conversion. Triumphs from Terry in Idaho
Happy
in
Friday.
his own
You wanna
private
split it?
Idaho.
It's really long.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do that.
I'll read until
There's a reason I
it's
said
We'll
to
tag
read
team it.
Kurt's.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Nothing. I know it's dirty. I'm just telling you I know.
Cool story, Hansel.
Happy Friday. Happy Jackers. Terry in Idaho here. Up to my eyeballs in new reading. Thank you, Dresden Files.
Are you just discovering it? That's awesome. If he's just discovering it.
I know for
It's
a
on my
second my
list.
heart
I'm so
jumps.
envious.
I know. I like thought maybe a new book was out, and I hadn't.
I
heard.
haven't read Dresden Files
If you
yet.
just started,
I'm working on The Expanse. Leave me alone.
No, do the Dresden Files version. It's much better.
yes. If you've just started, it doesn't seriously pick up until book 3.
It's so good though.
Make the commitment to at least finish through Changes, because once you finish through Changes, you will read everything he writes.
Yeah.
Because Changes is like the massive gut punch over and over
Yeah,
again.
and then
Changes.
Turn amazing changes.
We just
in
lost half our
response
listeners.
to the Idaho questions, yes, the trick worked. Tappy was correct. Sun Valley is in Idaho, almost in the middle of the state, near the town of Ketchum.
As in Ash Ketchum?
Yeah, I was like, is that a
Gotta
Pokemon
catch 'em all.
thing?
Gotta
It's
catch 'em all.
totally a Pokemon thing.
Gotta catch 'em all.
It's a major skiing spot and resort town. There is indeed a lot of open land in Idaho, and unless you're a hiker, mountain climber, hunter, outdoorsy person, there can be a big lack of things to do. One of the many reasons why I game.
Oh man, could you imagine like a gaming backpacking trip?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I've done
it's
it.
really fun.
Yeah.
Wait, let me put my mic back on.
You should
Yeah.
do that thing.
There's a game called Sherpa, and it is a role-playing game that you can play while hiking. That's specifically what it was designed for.
Is this a game with like sticks and
Yep. It's a role-playing game where your character sheet, it can be just a little scrap of paper. And they have a couple different, I think there's a couple different ideas to use for the randomizers. But it's made to be able to do it while you're backpacking or hiking.
I need to check this thing out.
see?
Sherpa RPG, it's free.
Yeah. Closest I've gotten was my friends in high school. We went to my friend's cabin for a weekend because my friend's parents had a cabin. We were just out of high school, I think, and we tried to role play like we're gonna sit on this cliff and like look over the mountain and like play role-playing games on this rock. Except the wind was not favorable to that, and we lost like 3 dice down the mountain.
No.
And we're like, we're gonna go back in now before we lose one of us down the mountain
Right.
because we're role players and we don't have great, physical traits like our characters.
What are you-
anyway,
what are you trying to say?
Email.
Kimmy and I are like,
Stereotype.
Strength is my dump stat.
that's right. Kimmy took all of it.
Actually, con is my dump stat. So that's fine.
Try it. Oh god, I'm tired. Okay, I live in Boise and Meriden areas of Idaho most of my life, so I'm not sure how many rural gamers there are. However, there is definitely a contingent in the urban spots. There are 3 game shops within 10 miles of my house, and the Gem State Gaming Convention happened last month with a total of 784 different badges handed out, up 55% from last year. We exist, we're just not very loud about it. My goal is to grow the hobby as much as I can. While I was employed by the Boys and Girls Club half a dozen years ago, I started a Dungeons & Dragons game for the teenagers, and several of them still keep in contact, telling me about the games they're running years after leaving the club. But my greatest gaming triumph happened last March. Shortly after my now wife and I started dating, way back in 2004, I introduced her to my geeky little hobby, and she quickly joined my regular D&D game. I was elated to have her game with me, but this didn't sit well with her parents. First, they were in the era of the Satanic Panic. Second, they knew a couple whose marriage ended because of Dungeons & Dragons. The husband gamed obsessively and neglected his wife, leading to the split. Needless to say, they didn't approve too highly of the gaming aspect of our relationship. Time passes. Fast forward to March of 2018. My wife and I have been married for 3.5 years. If you're doing the math, yes, we dated a long time. We're still gaming together all these years later. My wife, Megan, gets a text from her mom out of the blue. We're contemplating learning to play D&D. Would Terry run a game?
Yeah.
It's your turn. Keep
It's
your
your
turn.
turn.
I'm tag teaming you.
Oh, okay.
We planned that, remember?
Yeah, we did. Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, no.
That almost worked.
Never again.
Close to no guitar.
That's an old.
Close, but no guitar.
Yes.
Yeah. After that was a long time ago. That picture at the con.
Yep.
Was
Yep.
that was a long
Eiffel
time
Tower.
ago. Yeah.
Yep. Still traumatized. Still remember. Keep reading.
After I picked my jaw up off the floor and put my eyeballs back in my head, I emphatically said yes. I'd be running for Megan's immediate family. Immediate family. Megan, her parents, her older brother, and younger sister. And, spoilers, it was so awesome to see a family play RPGs together. I decided to make it easy on all of us and run The Lost Mines of Flandelver, the mini-campaign that comes with the D&D 5e starter kit.
That's the, it's like a cliffside with a bunch of tunnels in it.
Yeah.
If I recall
I think you're thinking of Caves of Chaos. From
I
2.0.
am thinking of Caves
Yeah.
of Chaos.
I played
No.
that module.
It's not Tomb of Ayuchiban that you're thinking of?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought it came with the... It was the playtest for 5e. It was whatever that was.
Oh no, Caves
was-
of Chaos was like 2.5 or 3.0.
Okay, no, but I think it was called Caves... Maybe it was called Caves of Chaos, because that
So it
sounds
might
more
be an
familiar.
updated version of it.
I think it might have been that. Sorry. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
I
You
have
lost your
no idea where I was. Oh, there it is. Though D&D may not be considered the best starter system, I went with it for a number of reasons. Well, I think D&D is actually...
Especially 5.0.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's great. My parental in-laws are major WoW players, so a system that is focused
Yeah.
primarily on combat would bring in aspects of what they already know, and I can start to subtly introduce roleplay, character interaction, and story-focused section where appropriate, so we're not just dungeon crawling. Wait, they're WoW players who... Oh, I guess that was... I mean, there wasn't WoW back in 2004 when they're worried about the Satanic Panic. So I guess they...
Well, no, the Satanic Panic was back in the 90s and 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's from that generation.
Really, Joey? You want to tell us about it?
I wrote a paper about it.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe you could. I researched it on the internet.
No,
Did it really extend into the 90s? Because I remember it in the early 80s.
In
Here's-
the early 90s, it was
Firsthand.
still
Here's
around.
why I say the 90s. I started playing RPGs in the early 2000s in
Okay.
high school. Yes. My parents, my mother specifically,
I was ending
so
my first marriage
afraid.
by that point.
I remember.
But my mother was so nervous about me playing Dungeons and Dragons because I love her to death, but she was one of those Lifetime TV mothers
Right.
who will sit Sunday, watch Lifetime movies from morning to night.
All right, and she watched Mazes and Monsters.
Yep, exactly. And she was convinced that now that I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, I was going to get high on drugs, and
Run into it-
she and
run
my
into-
stepdad were going to end up murdered.
Right, right into a sewer. And,
Right,
yeah, murdered.
exactly.
Right.
So my junior year, I've been playing for like about a year or a year and a half now. Junior year of high school in honors English, we had to write a persuasive essay. And I'm like, I'm going to write about the subject. It is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to do the thing. So I wrote a persuasive essay explaining why Dungeons and Dragons is not satanic. And I actually interviewed her for the paper to get
Oh.
what are your issues with it? And then I disproved every single
Rona
one of them.
Chaffee?
Huh?
You interviewed you.
My mother.
Oh, your
Yeah.
mother, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. The author of
Oh no.
Sorry.
Yes. Yes, I did that thing. But no, and I showed back home with 98% on that paper. I'm like, can I play now? And once she understood it was more like just geeky poker night,
Yes.
she got a little easier on it. But it was a long, grueling process. That's why I say it goes in the 90s, because I have personal experience in the 90s,
Okay.
2000s.
All right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
It's good.
Okay.
You don't know where you are now.
Also, no, I've been holding my finger right there, just in case. Megan and her siblings are big 5e players, so they were able to sit next to mom and dad to give pointers, answer questions, help learn the ropes, etc. And I could focus on facilitating the game as a whole. I used a lot of the advice that you all have given over the years to talk to our parents and let them know what the, quote, expectations, unquote, were for them in the game. You don't have to talk in third person or have a silly voice. If you want to do voices or mannerisms, embrace and enjoy it, but it's not necessary. You don't have to know all the rules. Your goal is to come to the table, sit down, and have fun. Remembering the rules will come in time, but the goal is to enjoy the game. If you want to do something that's not in the rulebook, we'll figure out a way to make it happen or get close to it. Which happened in the first combat when Dad-in-law's paladin wanted to shield bash as an attack.
Yeah.
And later in the combat uses, quote, unsettling golden eyes, end quote, to intimidate someone. Both were awesome flavor actions for the character, so they were allowed and encouraged heavily. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'm not going to give you hell for not knowing the rules, nor will I chide you for not remembering how your spell works, especially as a beginner. Long story short, too late. We have been playing since March, meeting once a month for around 5 to 7 hours per session. Her parents are loving the game. Megan's dad has quickly embraced the murder hobo lifestyle.
Yeah! Good job, Dad! All right! Tell him we're proud of him.
A side not before seen even to his wife. Excellent.
What does an Idaho accent sound like?
No, I have family in Idaho, but I haven't seen them
I've
in a
never
while.
been to Idaho. I don't know.
I've been to
I
Sun
drove
Valley.
through Idaho in a bus.
I know how it
Doesn't really
exists.
count.
I know the shape of the state.
Right. Potato place, right?
Oh, yeah.
Potato. Oh God, I lost where I was.
Oh
No!
no!
No! Even
Oh, yeah,
Ryan
yeah,
and
yeah.
his wife.
Yeah.
You're getting to the best part.
However, he was the first one to try a voice.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere while he was talking to a farmer's wife. Originally, his family started giggling. It was kind of a think accident.
Thick accent.
Thick
I think.
accent. It's kind of a thick accent. Kind of like a think accent, like a think piece.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Very cerebral.
it's very cerebral, my accent. But I waved him to silence and immediately honed in on him. My father-in-law isn't a, quote, getting into character, unquote, kind of person. So this first step at character dimension was like watching a baby take its first steps or watching a flower open. It was so cool.
That's so cute.
Yay!
Awesome.
The flower opening. I like that.
Yeah.
That's poetic. Keep going.
And when will
Especially
Carmen
Murder
open...
Hobo Dad.
Yeah. I know, right?
Remember that part in Three Amigos? When will Carmen open her flower to you? Tonight, or I will kill her.
I would stop when you quote that movie. I would stop before that last.
Yeah.
Was
So
that
you're
a
listening to the
salute?
podcast. Stu just did the
The
crazy
Three Amigos
salute.
Yeah. You missed it,
So
it's
over
fine.
the top. A family loves playing together, and I like watching the familiar interactions going on at the table. I've employed the yes and emphasis that has been a Happy Jack staple,
Excellent.
and I've also worked in the thought that if they need to find something specific or plot-based, they don't need to, quote, roll to find it, end quote, they just find it. These two small rules by themselves have made a world of difference for this crew. I'm extremely proud to have been a part of a RPG conversion. Two people who were against D&D are now impatiently waiting for the next chance to sit down or roll some dice.
Woohoo!
I don't know if we'll go beyond D&D into the other RPGs, Savage World, some of the Apocalypse World engines, games like Demigods, etc.
Woohoo.
Woot. But if D&D is what gets them to the table, then I roll D20s every time. Thanks for helping me be a better GM, Jackers.
Woohoo.
Enjoy a beverage of your choice. Cheers.
Awesome.
Hey.
I'm
A little
out
bit
of-
left. Sláinte.
Excellent.
Sincerely, Terry in Idaho.
It's a very heartwarming story.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
That is. That flower is so cute.
I know.
It's very nice. I like it.
Dad's Murder Hobo. Chris Dad's Murder Hobo. I want to kill it. I'm gonna light it
But
on
he's
fire.
A murder hobo flower that's
Yes.
blooming.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Who
It's
also
like that-
intimidated someone with his unsettling golden eyes.
Yes.
It's like that flower they have at the Huntington Library that
Oh,
opens
the
once
corpse
every
flower.
10
Flower.
years. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
It didn't though. I'm very sad this year. I was following it and it
oh,
didn't
it probably was so
open.
hot. Probably because we had such a hot
I
summer.
was so excited.
I drove by there because sometimes I cut through that area to go pick up my kids at school,
Yeah.
and I got close enough to smell that thing because
yeah.
because I'm back because one of the ways I went is kind of back behind
Yeah.
Huntington Garden, and there's a reason they call that
Got
thing
a corpse flower.
flower.
Yeah.
Wow.
100%.
That thing reeks.
Yep. All right.
All right, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
We'll see you again, and
Yeah. Wait. No. Wait.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Why problem make when you no problem have you don't want to make?
Okay, go. What I played? Why problem make when you
Oh,
no
okay.
problem
Good.
have?
I was
you
like,
wanna
I don't
make?
know what button you pressed, and I'm concerned now. Don't do it again. All right. Don't forget. Also, check us out on iTunes and leave a review for all 3 of our feeds. Stop. I see you. Don't push the button.
That's a sneeze.
I know. Phew!
It's a Kimmy sneeze.
Once we get to 300 reviews for this podcast, and once we get to 200, yeah, we're at 298
Oh, okay.
right now for reviews for this show, and then I think we're at 78 or 79 for the AP feed, and we have like 8 for the one shot since
Right.
it's like a week old.
Right.
But once we get to 100 for the AP feed, for the actual pay campaign feed, we're going to do a giveaway. Once we get to 300 for this feed, we're going to do a giveaway. So go leave reviews.
Yes.
Make them good ones, please. Yes.
Be honest.
Do good ones.
Be honest.
Do good ones.
And by the way, there's going to be a new listener viewer survey
Yes.
that will be coming out probably in the next week. I will release the link for that
Yes.
soon when I'm finished with it. I'm almost done with it.
Okay.
And it's going to ask a lot of questions. And if you would like to take that, you can do so.
Please do.
Because that actually really does honestly affect
Yeah.
what happens within the direction of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you disagree with us wildly, which I know many of you do, please write us about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'd love to hear.
We'd love email fights.
We'd
Yeah.
love to argue with you.
Oh, and let me just say about the survey, because so many people went in and put in duplicate responses,
Cheaters.
I am, there's a thing, because I use Google Forms for it. There's a thing I can click that says, you must be logged into your Google account to fill out this form, which means you can only fill it out once. So I didn't want to do that, because I know there are people out there who don't have Google accounts. I think most people probably do.
Yeah.
But it was necessary because that way I don't have to go through the whole huge spreadsheet and say, oh look, this guy wants us to play this game, and he answered all the questions exactly the same 40 times in the last 15 minutes. So I'm going to delete all of them, not all but one. I delete all of them.
It's really annoying when Stork does that. He's like, it's really obvious that my favorite player is Stork. Stork should be in every game. Stork should be
Right.
I'm just kidding. Stork is the one who doesn't do that because he'd have to know technology.
Yeah, he doesn't have Google.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't have.
He's
a
still
Google,
using Dogpile.
he doesn't have a Google machine.
Yeah. That's why it was funny to make him the butt of that joke.
Yes.
Because he's
I
the butt-
kind of want to just do that now.
No. No.
No, don't do that.
You can't unless you want to make a bunch of
Don't.
of
Don't
Google
tempt
accounts.
him, Frodo.
I won't. No. That's way too much for my attention span.
Yeah.
Oh, and
We also want like honest feedback.
Yeah,
so, like,
please.
please give us real information, not just joke information, because this is what we use to make
Yeah.
the shows better.
Yeah,
Yes.
because if you give us joke information on something that's crappy, and then we do it, you'll be unhappy.
Yeah.
right,
And,
and
you'll be
we
mad
will
at us.
too.
And it will
Yeah.
be your fault.
Right. All right.
I think we're
Why problem make when you no problem have you don't want to make?
Go away, Baton. Welcome to Costco. I love you.
That's my favorite. Welcome to Costco. I love you. From Idiocracy.
So good. You mean the documentary Idiocracy?
Yeah,
It
it was a joke. He was
It's
telling
a
a joke.
joke.
yeah.
Yeah!
All right.
We're listeners. Thank you for joining us for season 22, episode 17 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I'm Kimmy.
I'm Tucky!
I'm Joey.
And we'll see you next week, Friday, 7 p.m.-ish Pacific time, right here at happyjacks.org/live. Thank you very much. We'll leave you the song.
And maybe East Timor.
Be it free!
So exalted. Girls or Dungeons and Dragons. Hero Pathfinder, fatal savage worlds. Evil plus will be usurping. Though we could do with less burping. Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebag song. Oh, whiskey or the devil.
mountains and to America. You're sweeter, kinder, decenter, you're spunkier than Tay. Oh, whiskey, you're my darling, drunk or sober.
So now, brave boys, we're on the march and off to Portugal and Spain. Drums are beating, banners fly, and the devils are home will come tonight. Oh, love, fare thee well. With me tither-yaddle-doodle-dum-a-da, me tither-yaddle-doodle-dum-a-da. Me rakes fall to the laddie, oh, there's whiskey in the jar.
Oh, whiskey, you're the devil, you're leading me astray. Over hills and mountains and to America. You're sweeter, kinder, decenter, you're spunkier than Tay. Oh, whiskey, you're my darling, drunk or sober.
Well, the French are fighting boldly, men are dying hot and coldly. Give every man his flask of powder, his fire up on his shoulder. Oh, love, fare thee well. With me tither-yaddle-doodle-dum-a-da, me tither-yaddle-doodle-dum-a-da. Me writes full to a laddie, oh, there's whiskey in the jar.
Oh, whiskey, you're the devil, you're leading me astray. Over hills and mountains and to America. You're sweeter, kinder, decenter, you're spunkier than Tay. Oh, whiskey, you're my darling, drunk or sober.
Says the mother, don't you wrong me, don't take me daughter from me. For if you do, I will torment you, and after death me ghost will haunt you. Love, fare thee well. Me tither-yaddle-doodle-dum-a-da, me tither-yaddle-doodle-dum-a-da. Me rightful to a laddie, oh, there's whiskey in the jar.
Oh, whiskey, you're the devil, you're leading me astray. Over hills and mountains and to America. You're sweeter, kinder, decenter, you're spunkier than Tay. Oh, whiskey, you're my darling, drunk or sober. Oh, whiskey, you're the devil, you're leading me astray. Over hills and mountains and to America. You're sweeter, kinder, decenter, you're spunkier than Tay. Oh, whiskey, you're my darling, drunk or sober.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.
Bum, 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 bum.